So honesty, that's important, because if you're telling me you're having seizures and you tell me that you're not missing medication, my thought is I'm going to increase that next dose.
Oh, that's really a good point.
Right. But if you miss 3 out of the 5 days of the week with your medication, give yourself some grace. Let's reset.
Hey, I'm Greg Grunberg, and welcome to Talk About It, the podcast where we focus on topics that everybody should be talking about, and hopefully they will, or not only talking about, but screaming about.
Epilepsy shouldn't keep you from doing anything that you want to do.
Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it.
This season, we are going to continue to talk about living with epilepsy, like my son and millions of Americans who do. We're also going to be looking at other related conditions and causes. Our goal is to knock down, drag out, eliminate stigma, and raise awareness. Oh, and hopefully have a laugh or two along the way. Each of our episodes will feature amazing advocates and champions. We will learn together how to make a real difference in our own lives and in the lives of our communities.
Talking about it is important. It's all about connecting.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Thank you for talking about it.
Thank you for talking about it.
New season, new look, new sponsor. Thank you to Neurelis and everyone at Neurelis for sponsoring Talk About It. Talk About It is also sponsored by Jazz Pharmaceuticals. Thank you, Jazz, for always being there for us. All right, let's jump right into this episode of Talk About It. As promised, welcome to part 2 of our Hero series with Janet Greenwood. Janet is a physician's assistant. She's a clinician, one that we have been fortunate enough to have under the care of our son, Jake. He's a grown man. He's doing really well, but Janet is who Jake sees when he goes to see the doctor. And she is right in between the doctor and the nurse. She's right in the middle. And she's the most important person, I believe, outside of the epileptologist. She's incredible. She's so smart and caring. And there are so many Janets out there. If you watched and listened to the last episode, you learned a million things. Well, you're about to learn a million more. This is part 2 with epilepsy hero, Janet Greenwood. What can patients say and ask in an appointment that really helps get them the care that they need? What should they be talking about in that doctor's appointment?
I appreciate when patients come in with questions and are prepared. And so instead of just trying to wing it, right, I think that they need to think about what they want from their clinician. And so I think it's important for them to say, I expect this from my care. I'm having trouble with this medication. I think that patients, I advise them to make sure that they know their history, that they come prepared to a visit with number of seizures they're having, what they think their seizures are. They should know their medications and the doses, and that helps the clinician kind of guide what the next steps are. And I also think that they need to let their clinician know what their main concern is. Today, my main concern is I'm having too many seizures. Mm-hmm. My main concern today is I don't like taking XYZ medication.
Right.
So I think that they need to drive the visit instead of letting the physician or PA drive the visit.
That's great. This is really important because there is such a shame attached to breakthrough seizures or somebody that's not doing well. They take it personally and they feel like, oh, it's a reflection on me. I'm having seizures, so I'm not good. I'm not doing good. It has nothing to do with you. These are factors that are out of your control. So what role
Correct.
does open, honest communication play in building a good treatment plan? How important is honesty because people come in and go, no, I'm doing great. And you can tell that they're not, or something is an issue. So honesty, talk to me about that.
So honesty, if you're not honest with your clinician, like I have patients and I'll ask, did you miss your medication dose? And they say, well, I have to be honest. I did. That's important because if you're telling me you're having seizures and you tell me that you're not missing medications, then my thought is I'm going to increase that next dose.
Oh, that's really a good point.
Right? But if you missed 3 out of the 5 days of the week with your medications, then we need to discuss, how do we make sure you don't miss your medications? And if a patient says, you know what, I had a breakthrough seizure because I missed my AM or PM dose. Okay, give yourself some grace. Let's reset. We're all human. We all forget things. Doesn't matter if you have seizures or you don't have seizures. We all forget things. We regroup. We put our, shoes back on, and we stand back up and say, okay, tomorrow's going to be better.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a different strategy on remembering how to take my medications. It's okay. We're all just human. So
yeah, that's so great. This is why Janet is amazing. I love you so much. Okay, this is really important. Why do you think it is important to talk about epilepsy and your epilepsy and the potential of having a seizure outside of the clinic, in other places like schools, workplaces, and social media? Why is it important to not be afraid to talk about it with everyone in your circle of friends and family?
Because you don't know how your story, your epilepsy, might help somebody else.
Ah, wow.
And right? So, I talk about it when I run with a group of people, and I'll talk about what I do for a living. And then somebody will say, oh, my so-and-so has seizures and they're not being treated. And I'm like, well, let's talk about it. Maybe there's somebody that can help that person. Your story is important. Your story can help others. Your story, there's somebody out there that doesn't know what to do with their seizures. If they hear you talk about it, then maybe they say, I need to get treated. I think I have symptoms similar to that. Maybe I need to get, or a parent hears it and says, wow, I think my son or daughter might have generalized absence seizures. I need to get that taken care of.
Yeah.
And if the people around them know that, then they can participate. They can, if your classmates know, then they can say, okay, yeah, maybe he didn't answer that question because he was having a small seizure.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's interesting that answer is so important, and one that we haven't talked about, because when I do ask people these questions, or when I bring this question up, it's always because when you talk about it with people around you, they'll know what to do when you have a seizure. And that's the obvious answer. But what you just brought up is so important. It's a ripple effect. If you talk about it, you could be really helping other people to get the care that they need, or to kind of refine the care and get under control. So that's really important.
Right. I see that all the time. I tell my patients, don't be ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your coworkers, tell your boss. And most people will say, oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. We know what to do.
Yeah.
We have a seizure action plan. And if that happens, then we deal with it.
Yeah. It's just they need that little nudge.
They need that little nudge. That's right.
Yeah.
Coming up on Talk About It.
Should that person be in your life if that's how they judge you because of your seizures?
Yeah.
They're going to think that you're not a quote unquote normal person, whatever that is. Then maybe that person shouldn't be in your life.
I want to stress your story is so important. You might not think it is. You're just going through this. Your friend's going through it. Son, daughter, husband, wife, coworker has seizures, whatever. You might not think it's important, but your story is very important. And your story can help other people. Maybe it's not your story. Maybe it's a friend's story, like I said. Maybe it's a caregiver's story. So many people reach out to me after they get a diagnosis. I'm kind of the red phone, and they have questions because they know that I spread awareness about epilepsy through this podcast and through talkaboutitonvideo.com, all the educational videos that we have. By the way, if you're not subscribing to talkaboutitonvideo.com, you need to be. You'll get all these short form videos. They're awesome. We have just recently passed 250,000 subscribers. So it's working, and we're so proud of it. But oftentimes it's not the person who actually has the epilepsy. It's a friend of that person who only knows about it because they've heard about it. Someone talked to them about it, or they saw something on social media. Look, Stanzi Potenza and Jamie Simpson, both incredible guests here on the podcast. They'll post a story about their epilepsy, or in Jamie's case, she actually posted the actual seizure, video of that seizure, so other people can see what it might look like. And the more that people talk about this, the more information gets out there, the more we hear about something over and over again, the more educated we become through osmosis, and then the fear goes away. So we know what to do, and there's not a stigma, and we're not going to make fun of somebody because we know about it. We're educated about it. We're not ignorant to it. So the more we can all come together to get answers to our questions and find that care that we all need, that's really important. And the first step to that is to talk about it. So we kind of just answered this question, but this is another one that was sent in to us for you. If someone is afraid to talk about their epilepsy, what do you say to them in clinic?
Yeah, I usually ask them, what is their fear? Is it fear? Are they ashamed? Are they worried that that person is going to reject them? Where does that fear come from? And sometimes it's fear of rejection. And then I would say, well, is that person really, should that person be in your life if that's how they judge you because of your seizures?
Yeah.
Then maybe that person shouldn't be in your life, right?
Yeah.
Or is it fear that they're going to think that you're less, that you're not a quote unquote normal person, whatever that is. And so try to address where that fear is coming from. A lot of times you can address it and just say, okay, some of it's a maturity issue. Like as you get older, you don't maybe care as much about when you're a 12-year-old kid or a 15-year-old kid. That's hard,
yes.
Right? Puberty is tough, right? But as you get older and you mature, you say, well, this is just part of my life.
Yeah, and people, if they don't get it, if somebody in your life doesn't get it, trust me. I'm almost 60, so it's easy for me to say this. But if somebody is in your life and they don't get it, whatever your issue is, forget epilepsy and seizures, move on. Find somebody else. On. Goodbye.
That's
bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. See ya.
But it's hard to do when you're young, when you're in your 20s. That's hard because you're developing relationships and you're trying to figure out who you are as a person. So part of that is like, okay, well, we need to just kind of figure out a good social structure. And I encourage patients to do support groups. I think what is really important to be around people that are going through the same kind of things and have the same issues.
I love it.
Can I piggyback on that question real quick?
Yes.
What about fears that are less like superficial, where it's like maybe the refining of opportunities where, well, I want to be able to drive, so I don't want anyone to know I have epilepsy.
Yeah, there are consequences attached.
If there are, like, I want to become this career, but if I have epilepsy, then I can't. What do you recommend?
Or there's somebody that I'm interested in dating.
Yeah.
And he, might look at me different. I don't want to scare him away.
Yeah.
So,
it's important to talk about it because otherwise you could be putting people in danger, or you could be, so what do you say to those kind of patients?
Yeah. So, the driving thing is tough for sure because especially if you have to tell somebody, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to report you to the Department of Health because you had a seizure with loss of awareness. Mm-hmm. That impacts their ability sometimes to provide for their family if they can't drive to work. So it's a really difficult situation. What I usually tell patients is that, God forbid, you are in a car and you hurt yourself or your family member or somebody else. And usually they will then kind of say, yeah, okay, let's think about this. And usually I tell them it's probably going to be temporary. We need to figure out a different medication strategy. Some patients, you're not going to be an airline pilot. You may not be a commercial truck driver. You may not be able to do those things. And being honest and realistic is okay, right? I think sometimes those are hard conversations.
Yeah, but it is a case-by-case basis because we say the exact opposite sometimes on the show where it's like, don't let anything stop you from doing the things you want to do.
Right.
But you have to be cautious. You have to know your limitations. I mean, I know my limitations and, I've got cholesterol issues. I've got autoimmune now. I've lost my hair. You just know your limitations. So be safe, but also push it. Do what you want to do.
Right.
If it's safe for you to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are great conversations to have with your clinician. What is realistic? I'm never going to be a neurosurgeon, right? I mean, I've kind of, whatever. That's a different skill set, but that's okay. I'm never going to fly an airplane. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's having that open, honest conversation with your clinician.
So let's talk families. Someone will come in to the clinic and they've just started having a seizure and they have 3 kids, younger or older. Mm-hmm. What do you tell them when they say, how do I talk about this with the other kids or with my in-laws or with my family? What specifically within the family do you recommend the dialogue to be? How do you talk about it with your family?
I think with children, it's a little bit different depending on their age and their maturity. But if, let's just say it's a 15-year-old kid and they have siblings that are around close to the same age and they have an ability to understand, I think sitting down and having a family conversation would be the best strategy, and saying, okay, Sam has this disorder, he has seizures, and sometimes, this might happen. And making sure that they understand how to take care of their brother, how it may impact the family, and what they can do to be good siblings. I think, obviously, talking to other family members, again, being open, again, it's that dialogue, it's that open conversation. That this is what our family has to deal with, right? It's just like if somebody, had something else going on, you would just, as a good family, you'd sit down and talk about it, right?
And I think like
if you don't, then that's when problems arise, when the other siblings might see, why is he getting so much attention from mom and dad? And the other ones are like, well, I'm over here. Remember me? And maybe they act out. Maybe they don't understand.
Yeah.
So again, that family dynamics, you have to come together and say, you're all important, but Sam or Joe has this. And so we need to address it in this way. That doesn't mean we don't love you as much. It's just that sometimes our attention may get steered.
Yeah.
And you need to do it age appropriately, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, we told Ben and Sam years ago that we love Jake much more than them. But that's just us. That's I think you brought up a really good point as far as their level of understanding, depending on how the kids understand. So because the more they understand, the less scared they'll be, the more normalized it'll be within the family, and they won't freak out. I mean, that's really important. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Agree.
So if someone sees, this is a basic question, but one that we ask everyone, and you in particular, I just want to hear your basic answer without going into tremendous detail. But if someone sees a person have a seizure, what should they do and what should they not do?
Mm-hmm. So if you see a person having a seizure, the first thing to do is make sure that person is safe, right? So if they're sitting in a chair, and you feel like they're slumping down, put them on the floor, put them on their side, okay? Look at your watch and start to time it. Never, ever put anything in their mouth. They cannot swallow their tongue. There's the wives' tale that people can swallow their tongue. They cannot swallow their tongue. Put them on their side. If there's somebody else around and you don't know if this person has a seizure disorder or not, I would call 911 unless the seizure stops. If you know the person has a seizure disorder, don't call 911. Let's wait and see if it lasts longer than 5 minutes. Then obviously you need to call 911. Mm-hmm. Keep them on their side. Make sure there's nothing tight around their neck, and protect their head. That's what you need to do.
I love it. Love it. Okay. If you just heard that and you need to hear it again, go back and listen to it again. It's so simple, and you can reiterate that and talk about it. And when it comes to talking about with epilepsy and seizures with your family, I recommend talk about it Taco Tuesday. I'm just throwing that out. I love it. I mean, that's pretty good. Let's have tacos. Let's make tacos.
Talk about it Tuesday.
Taco about it Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Wow.
Let's do it.
Okay, we might have to do that here at Talk About It. That's really good. See, this is what happens when a musician. Nick is a brilliant musician. So, okay, Talk About It Tuesday. I love that. Burrito. How do we make burrito a part of that conversation? Quesadilla.
Coming up on Talk About It.
Yeah.
If you don't like what your epileptologist, how they're treating you or interacting with you, then you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I always tell patients, if at some point you want to see only the doctor, I'm not offended by that. I want to make sure you get the best care that you need.
Talk About It Tuesday. I mean, I can't think of the burrito thing. I can't think of the quesadilla thing, but we're being a little goofy with these ideas, okay? But there is really nothing wrong with getting creative with ideas. Now, I know it can become boring to repeat your story and feel like you're giving a lecture to people when discussing what to do in case someone has a seizure or whatever. But this stuff is really important. And there's a reason that they came up with fun ways to teach CPR, right? Like doing chest compressions to the beat of Staying Alive. That's actually a real thing because they want to get the right tempo. Staying alive, boom. Boom.
Staying alive, staying alive.
That's goofy, but it works and people remember it. Think outside the box with how you talk about your seizure response. Make it memorable. How do you make it memorable? I don't know. Be creative. And by the way, we really need to hear from you. If you have a creative way of telling people about your seizures or what to do in case they see you have a seizure, please post it and use the hashtag Talk About It. We'll see it. We might even post it on a future episode. But get creative and talk about it. What is one thing that everyone watching this, everyone listening to this can do to support someone who is living with epilepsy?
I think remember that there's hope. Remember that there's hope for these patients, that they need your understanding, they need your support, they need your love, they need your grace to realize what they're going through in their journey. And they need you to listen. They need you to be there for them. But there's hope for patients. We live in a great time where there's so many options for patients now with epilepsy, whether it's medications, surgical options, neuromodulation. There's a lot going on now with genetics in epilepsy, autoimmune in epilepsy. So we live in a wonderful time for patients with epilepsy to have the care that they need. And so I encourage patients and their families, if you're not being seen by an epileptologist, please at least go once, go twice, at least hear what the options are for yourself.
Oh, that's awesome. Great advice. This is a bit of a secret. I need you to reveal what you think the trick is or the secret or the thing that people are not doing when they can't get in to see someone because epileptologists are so slammed. They're so busy and there aren't enough of them. So is there any kind of is it just persistence? Like what do you encourage people to do if they've heard, I can't get an appointment for 3 months, but they're having seizures now. They need care now.
That's a great question. I think the bigger problem is that patients are in the community that are having epilepsy, that are on 3, 4, 5 medications and have not come to see the epileptologist. That is more concerning to me than, not that it's not concerning if a patient can't get in to see an epileptologist, but I would say be persistent on trying to call and say, hey, put me on the list. If somebody cancels, I'll come in anytime,
right.
And call once a week.
Yeah. Make
yourself a nuisance. I hate to say it, but make yourself a nuisance and just say, the squeaky wheel sometimes gets in, right? And knowing who to get a hold of, right? Someone like me, like a PA, I can usually look at my doctor's calendar and kind of squeeze things around and change things and make it work.
You just brought up something though really, really important, which is you mentioned it at the very beginning of the podcast, being your own best advocate. If you're on and being given, 3, 4 medications and it's just not working, in your heart of hearts, that there's a better treatment for you. There's better medication, whatever. I just remember Jake early on, we were with not only an epileptologist, but he was also a pharmacologist. So he was like, wait a minute. So he had more of an understanding of how these different medications interact. And, you never know. It gets so repetitive. It gets so laborious to tell your story again and go to another doctor and get a second opinion. Trust me, I know it, but it will be worth it. And I you stressed it so much. You know yourself better than anybody. So get to see an epileptologist at least once. That's such smart advice.
Absolutely. I mean, I tell patients if we refer them to neurosurgery for a device or a resection, we tell those patients it's okay to go get a second opinion.
Yeah.
We encourage it, right? You need to be your own best advocate. You need to hear the pros and cons from, multiple people. Nobody wants a patient that doctor shops and kind of goes back and forth.
Right.
But, it's important if you've not been seen by an epileptologist, you need to see one. Yeah. If you don't like what your epileptologist, how they're treating you or interacting with you, then you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I always tell patients, I'm a PA, not a doctor. If at some point you want to see only the doctor, I'm not offended by that. I want to make sure you get the best care that you need, right? And that's important.
I love it. Love it. And again, if you're listening and watching this, we're very, very fortunate that we have you in Jake's care. But there are a lot of people just like you that care just as much as you do. And this community is so unique in that way, from neurologists to epileptologists to PAs to, clinicians, everyone, nurses. There seems to be a level of care in this area of medicine that I have never experienced before. It's really unique, and I love it.
I agree.
So just to reiterate and recapsulate what, and kind of sum up, what does talking about epilepsy openly, honestly, often, and without shame, what kind of a difference will that make in the lives of people living with epilepsy and seizures?
It guarantees that they're going to get the best care possible. If there's open communication, if there is dialogue, it means that whether they're talking to their clinician, whether they're talking to their family, their employer, their friends, their loved ones, they're going to get the best possible care, and they're going to be taken care of. And it gives them power. It gives them power to be in control of their health, their epilepsy, and their future.
I don't know how we can wrap up this great episode of the podcast any better than that. Janet, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Obviously, I say it all the time, but thank you for what you've done for our family and for Jake and continue to do. But find your Janet, everybody. If that's what you take from this episode, find your Janet. Find your level of care that you're comfortable with, because you should never be embarrassed about anything. You should be able to have an open dialogue about anything, especially your seizures and epilepsy. And thank you for all.
Well, thank you, though, for what you do for the epilepsy community. You are a strong advocate, not only for your son, but for all the people out there that have epilepsy. And I so appreciate what you do every single day.
Thank you.
I honestly do.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. I am a much better person than Nick Marzak, who's sitting right here. And by the way, if you're listening to this, do your own level of advocating. Help others. Like, even if it's a little thing, even if it's calling somebody up and saying, hey, I just heard this episode. I heard something. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Just because you never know what you're going to hear. You're going to glean some little bit of information in a conversation that's going to help you or help someone else. So that should be a big takeaway from this episode. But you're going to be on this podcast more than this. Janet, please.
Okay, anytime. Anytime.
You're incredible.
I love the questions. The questions.
Where can people, if people want to seek care at Keck Medical, what should they do? Is there a website that they should go to?
They can go to the website, or they can call our main number for epilepsy, 323-442-5618. And that is our nurse. And then she can get them into scheduling.
Okay, great. That's if you're in the LA area and you're looking for care. But there are places like, USC Keck Medical all across the country. There are great epilepsy centers and great doctors. So seek them out and ask questions and talk about it. Thanks, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Talk About It with Greg Grunberg. Sponsored by Neurelis and by Jazz Pharmaceuticals. Thank you to our special guests for joining us, and thank you J.J. Abrams for the theme music that you're hearing right now. Talk About It is produced by Ken Lowenberg, Greg Grunberg and Nick Marzok. Editing, directing and incidental music by Nick Marzok. Go to talkaboutonvideo.com to watch these episodes, and as always, don't forget to talk about it. This podcast is a production of the Talk About It Company and Motel Podcasts.